Hello and welcome back to Pixel Street Videos, where today myself and Will, it's been a while since we've talked Halo on the channel, but we're
hmm
back and we are going to review episode 1 of the Halo TV series that just came out today, March 24th, 2022. It's called Contact is the name of the episode, and I mean it's a pretty fitting name, I'd say, like for a first
Yeah.
episode of anything really.
Yeah.
Um, it's a good first name, but we're gonna kind of keep it spoiler free at first for the first few minutes here, and then we'll let you know when we're going full on spoilers to just talk about everything that happened. Um, so Will, overall, just first impressions of the show. If you had to give it a word, I 2 words. Give it no 3 words. Summarize it in 3 words. What you think of it?
Summarize it in 3 words. Well, I can tell you how I felt. I went in with low expectations. Just because I mean, any video game live action adaptation rarely ever goes over well. So I went in with low expectations. I was surprised. I was concerned and I was sad. Those, I guess, through the three feelings I had watching just the first episode. Obviously, it's hard to rate something on its pilot episode. It really is.
Yeah. Okay. So for me, I actually enjoyed it. Um,
Mhm,
So they said like last week an article came out where they said like they didn't take into account anything from the games in this
mhm,
in this show, and at first I was like, "Huh, that's really fucking weird." Um,
right?
but I think it works out in their favor for the show because like they're trying to fill huge shoes, right? If they are
Yeah.
making this like a canon piece of Halo
Mhm,
lore, I guess you could say. Um, but I don't know. I feel like it helps them that they can just kind of do whatever they want with it.
mhm.
I kind of like the way the story's going. In fact, I don't want to spoil anything, but
Yeah,
I
we'll
like,
hold off for just a minute. Yeah.
but yeah, I don't know. I'm enjoying it for what it is. It's better than I was expecting.
That's the surprise that I wanted to talk about. It was better than I was expecting,
The
especially at the
trailers,
beginning. The trailers did not do it justice. They didn't.
no, I was just talking to Loops before
Mhm.
we came to record this, and he was saying like the trailers, if you watch them, like it makes it look like it's gonna be like a corny, like video game action shooter TV show, but it's not. Like you could tell
Mhm.
just based on story stuff that they're doing that it's gonna be more than that, which is really interesting to me. Now, I think that what you don't like about it, which I understand, is like you are the ultimate Halo nerd slash lore fucking, you want to know everything
Mhm.
about the lore. You do know everything about the lore,
I
and
wouldn't
that's
say
where
everything.
most of it. All right, and
Game
that's where
lore. Game lore.
and that's probably what you dislike about it is that in this first episode, it's already doing things that you never would have thought that they would have done in the whole
True.
show.
Yeah. And I was trying to, and I don't know if Hannah was looking at me while we were watching it because we watched it on the projector, and because I wanted to get as good of an experience as what they could give, and I was trying to go into this without that feeling like I know what should be happening and view this as a person outside of my own shoes. And there's a lot of good and there's a lot of we'll talk, but
Yeah.
I will give it was better than what I was expecting based off of what they gave us from the trailer. Absolutely.
Yeah, yeah, I completely agree. Let's talk about how the chief looks himself, right? He looks
Mhm.
badass. He looks
Yeah.
really cool.
Yeah.
Um, it was to a point though where Elise like she walked in. I watched it during my lunch break at work today,
Mhm.
and Elise walked into the living room and she said like she's like, "Wait, this is a Halo TV show?" I was like, "Yeah," and she said like, "Is it like a video game or is it like actual actors?" I was like, "Oh no, they're real actors."
Mhm.
And she asked me that when they were like in a ship, so it was just two people, right? It was the Master Chief
Yeah.
and a human, and she just couldn't tell if it was real or not because Halo's never been a TV show or anything.
Yeah.
So,
Aside
but
from
yeah,
those one-offs that they had, back in Halo 4 or pre-Halo 5 days with
those are
Forward
good
Unto
though.
Dawn.
I
I
like
liked
those.
those. Yeah.
And
It
what was
was
it?
odd,
Nightfall.
but Nightfall,
Halo
yeah.
Nightfall and
That one
Forward Unto
kind
Dawn.
of strayed a little far, but I honestly I really like Forward Unto Dawn. I felt like that was a pretty good representation of the game in a live action, but it was released in like 15-minute increments, like
Hmm.
once every 2 weeks or so. So it's like it wasn't the same kind of experience.
Yeah, yeah, it was weird.
Mm,
But yeah, let's see. They started filming the show in 2019. I have the
mm.
Wikipedia up, which is interesting. The series spent over $40 million on production costs. By 2021, the series budget had crossed the $200 million mark.
Good God. What? That I did not know.
They can't be making their money back on this.
No,
How are they
no,
making their
not
money
through
back on
Paramount
this?
Plus. No, they're gonna have to rely on Blu-ray sales or something.
Yeah, they're gonna rely on you buying every steelbook copy of this TV series that comes out.
I'm gonna line it all across the back wall.
Yeah, for the collection.
Oh my God, 200 million, Jesus. Now, how much of that was reshoots and rewrites because of COVID, you think?
I don't know. I'm curious if the $40 million is what they spent on live action shooting, and
Hmm.
the rest is like spending on CG shit because that's expensive. I
Yeah.
imagine. I know
Post-production is
nothing
not
about
cheap.
filmmaking. Yeah. The first two episodes of the TV series premiered ahead of the release on March 14th at the 2022 South by Southwest Film Festival. So that's
Mm.
interesting. That might be why you thought the first two episodes were coming out.
Yeah, because I could have swore
Um,
I saw online somebody said they saw the first 2 episodes early. So, yeah.
yeah, we have Pablo Schreiber
Hmm.
playing the Master Chief. Um, and you kind of get a sense of why they, use his voice instead of, what's his name? Steve Downs?
Hmm.
And that happens.
Hmm.
Um, and then a whole bunch of other names I don't know. I don't know most of these people. I know, isn't that one chick who plays Halsey? She's pretty famous, right? She's in
I
a lot
want to
of
say I've
stuff.
seen her in something. There was one other actor that was like the news anchor near the beginning, trying not to
Mm,
give away things.
yeah.
I've seen him in things before. He was in Pacific Rim, the guy with the crutch, that was like the co-star of Charlie Day.
Yeah.
I think that was it.
Well,
But
this episode was directed by Otto Bathurst. Um,
I'm not familiar
don't
with him.
I don't know who he is. I'm just going through it. He worked on Peaky Blinders apparently, which is a very popular show.
Yeah, that's really big, at least on Netflix.
Yeah. Um, yeah, I guess that's all we can really get into without spoiling it. So,
Hmm.
sound the alarm. Wee 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 wee. We're gonna go into full on spoilers. Um, yeah. All right. Let's just go into it. Let's give a synopsis, Will. So
All
it
right.
starts. You have like a young dude, right?
Hmm.
Like they're talking. They're playing some like board or card game type. I think it's a
Hmm.
card game. In
Your
like what
typical
I'm assuming.
expository meeting on a card table, right?
Yeah, it's like essentially at like the cantina from Star
Right.
Wars.
Hmm.
Um, and you got the young guy like talking about war and stuff, and the old guy's like, "Yeah, you've never even seen a Spartan." And this is where they kind of elaborate that they're like
Hmm.
kind of just like they're independent, and so they
Hmm.
have fought the UNSC like Spartans and Marines before.
Hmm.
Um, and the guy's like, "Huh, I've fought Marines though," and then they all just start laughing at him.
Right.
Yeah,
Like,
and
oh,
they're
you're
like,
cute.
yeah, they're like a Spartan equates to like 100 Marines. Like you idiot, get out of here. Um, and then we cut over to a young woman. What's her name? The main chick,
Quan Ah.
Kwan Ah.
Hmm.
She's with her friends, in which I'm assuming they're about to take drugs, right? Like they just found
Oh
like
yeah, they are
some
straight up
plant.
looking to get high on this
Yeah,
unknown
plant.
planet.
Yeah, we're assuming they're mushrooms at this point, right? Essentially, they found
Basically, yeah.
mushrooms in the forest, and all the friends eat it. Her name's Qua.
Quan Ah.
Say it again. Sorry.
Quan Ah.
Quan. Okay. So Quan, she's about to eat hers, and she's looking in the sky, and she like sees like a flash. She's like,
Hmm.
"What the fuck was that?" She runs up the hill, and then like looks around. Then she sees like, "Oh shit, there's a ship there," And like me and you know, because we've played
Like,
the games,
oh,
it's a
that's the
Covenant ship.
Covenant. Oh my
The
goodness.
Covenant are there.
Mm.
She sees light going off in a cave of some sort. She runs back to her friends. She's like trying to warn them, but of course they're high
Mm.
now. So they're
Right.
like, "Oh, let's go!" And like the one dude's like, "Oh, let's go check it out." And she's like, "No, it's not UNSC." And then the one dude starts sprinting,
Mhm.
fucking torn to shreds immediately.
Yeah,
And
that was
that
one
moment,
thing. Hmm.
that was very surprising. I did
Yes,
not
I
think that
was
it was
not
going to be as
expecting.
I didn't think it was going to be as
Yeah.
gory because this
Hmm.
dude got shot and then Quan blood all over her face immediately. Like,
Blood, parts of people's fucking foreheads were
yes.
flying off. You look off to the corner, dude's missing his leg, and he gets hit with another plasma blast, and then he's just nothing but a big red mist. Um, was not expecting the
Nope.
violence that quick, but it does paint the picture of the severity of the Covenant invasion. So I will give them that. They they took that at least from the lore. This was not something to take lightly. It wasn't just some ragtag team of aliens just like, oh, we're gonna attack you now. No, like they're gonna kill you.
Yeah, they're here to fuck shit up. And
Yeah.
like this was such an interesting perspective to me of the Halo universe, I guess, because like every
Hmm.
time we play a Halo game, you're either a Spartan or a UNSC, right?
Hmm.
Or I mean an ODST. And even as an ODST, you're still like killing the fuck out of all these guys.
Yeah.
And like this is the first time you're seeing like a civilian essentially like
Hmm.
encounter what's happening. And that's kind of like the whole first half of the episode
Hmm.
is seeing it through the eyes of a civilian, right? So
Hmm.
obviously these kids are getting attacked. She shoots a red flare to warn like the village, and
Hmm.
they have like a whole like wall built out in a circle around the village to kind of protect them from at this point UNSC, right? Because that's all they've
Yeah.
fought before. They've never seen the Covenant.
Hmm.
Um, and so she finally gets back to town. They fight the Covenant, and then a bunch of elites come in, fucking wreak havoc. There's like a few run around with energy swords. It's pretty
Hmm.
badass. I do think that the elites could have looked better in this
Hmm.
scene. They looked very video gamey in this scene.
Yeah.
Like it looked like they straight up like photoshopped them out of a Halo game and put them like on a live action thing.
I
But
you can tell what they were trying to pull from was Halo 5 though. Cuz in Halo
yeah,
5 the elites were like big brutish like hulking.
they're huge.
Yeah.
In this show, they are
Instead of
huge.
the instead of the samurai-esque aesthetic they've been given in all the previous games. Um a little too bulky and a little like very much in that uncanny valley. You could tell that they were added in. They didn't feel like they belonged in the scene, like the lighting didn't quite match up.
Yeah.
But overall, not bad. Not 200 million budget good, but not bad.
Yeah. So the elites are attacking. The chick goes. Of course, the chick's dad is like the leader of the
Of
whole
course.
like village,
Hmm.
and he's like telling her like go hide in the whatever it's called, like hide with everybody who's like
Right.
kids and women who are hiding. Um, and she goes in there. They lock it up. And then the fucking Spartans come in. Like they look up at the sky. Oh, what's
Hmm.
that? Fucking Spartans just like dropping from the sky.
No fall
And
damage at all.
no no fall damage. And it's Master Chief, right? He slams into the ground and then Silver Team behind him.
Hmm.
Um and that was a badass moment. Like
That
that like
was.
we saw that in the trailer, like
A
we didn't know it was him
lot
dropping
of that
in.
trailer was from that one fight scene, or at
Yeah.
least in
And
an, like snippets from that scene.
and that has me excited to see what's coming in the future episodes because like
Mhm.
if they only use the first episode more or less for that trailer, it's going to be exciting to see what else there is.
Yeah.
um but yeah, and then the Spartans come in, fucking wreck havoc, right, kill
Mhm.
all of the elite. um but the entire village dies except for the chick,
Mhm.
which is pretty wild that
Yeah. Like
the
nobody else
this
survived. Nobody else
yeah
hiding in a crevice anywhere. No, no.
yeah the
Everybody's dead except for this girl.
Spartans were able to kill every elite, but the elites were able to kill the whole fucking village. He said like it was 150 or 130 people, something like
Mhm.
that. Pretty wild. I will say another moment like So when Kwan's friend got shot, is it Kwan?
Hmm.
I keep forgetting her name.
Hmm.
When her
She's a
friend
pretty
gets shot
forgettable character. Yeah.
and blood splatters all over her face, another one of her friends gets shot and his like leg just completely gone. Like it
Hmm.
was only the leg got like seared off. But the elites came in and they opened the door where everybody was hiding, and an elite just like plasma rifle everybody, no
Hmm.
hesitation, just do, just everybody in there fucking to shreds. Luckily, Quan
Hmm.
like slipped out to try and help, so
Hmm.
that's how she lived. Um, yeah, what happened next? Silver Team, they go to the cave where the Covenant
Hmm.
were hiding or trying to harvest something.
Yeah, they were.
And
They kept. This is where the first red flag popped up for me. It's the age old storytelling trope where they aren't following good writing. Good writing is show don't tell, and there was way too much of Pablo Schreiber just speaking out loud what he's seeing and what he's doing. And they could have easily made that scene where he comes up and for us knowing that's a clearly a forerunner object of some kind, they could have made this a very emotional, given it a more emotional tone with the music. The music was very lacking, and that's been a huge part of Halo for a lot of people. Is the emotional connection with the music with what's happening on screen, whether it's in the game or any of the other animated or live action adaptations in the past. That was the first red flag. There was way too much of him just speaking his mind when it could have just been easily showing you what it is. Like they're clearly trying to tell a story. We don't know what this is. So why are we talking about it? Let's just, look at it with disbelief. Like, what is this? He reaches out to touch it, and then the weird bad CG glowing starts happening. Instead of him just like, I'm going to touch it now. I'm touching it now. And then have a flashback to whatever. Like that was production value for me. It took me out of the experience just a little bit. But I can see why they did that because there's a lot of backstory there. If you're trying to pull uh, from the existing lore to try to explain to an audience within 60 minutes, like I get it. You have to have an expository dump at some point in time, but I felt like that could have been executed just a little bit better. But continue. He goes up, he touches the artifact, and he has a vision. We know what it's about, but
so he has a vision where like he like sees like family more or less,
Mhm.
right? Like his family, but he doesn't have a family. Well, doesn't have a family. Um, and so he sees that, and then an elite tries to run. They chase him out of the cave. He hops in a banshee and flees. I thought he got in that
Right.
banshee and fucking was in space way too
World's
fast.
fastest banshee. My God, that thing hits supersonic speeds in no time.
So yeah, and then the chief, like chief and silver team, they leave the cave, and
Hmm.
then they take Quan with them, right?
Hmm.
Oh no, chief takes Quan with him
And he
alone.
tells them to go back on a pelican, I guess.
No, I think that their goal was to chase the guy in the banshee, but I'm not
Hmm.
entirely sure. I don't remember. Either way, it's weird. Like, why would the chief be
Yeah.
like, "No, I'll take this artifact and the girl. You guys go
Oh
alone."
yeah,
It's like,
I'll keep the drugs. It's fine. No,
yeah,
you
yeah,
go ahead.
exactly.
I'll take these back to command.
But anyway, they're on the. I think they took a condor. Was it?
Hmm.
They specified it was a condor. Um, Chick
Basically a
wakes
big
up.
pelican.
Yeah, yeah. Chick wakes
Hmm.
up on there. She's like, "What the fuck? What the fuck? Let me out! Let me out!" And then eventually, Chief lets her out. Oh no, no. She talks to Miranda
She talks
Keys,
to Miranda
and
over
this is where,
hologram
yeah,
briefly.
the first time we see Miranda, and Miranda's like asking her like, why don't you help us? Like, this like the Covenant is the greater threat here. Like, we need to
Mhm.
put this bullshit aside. And she's like, no, my dad died. Wishing like wanting independence from all this bullshit. Like, we've
Mhm.
been fighting you for years. I'm gonna do what my dad wants. And
Mhm.
then Captain Keys receives from command that the orders are to now kill the girl
Mhm.
because she's gonna like start this whole like revolution more or less because she
Mhm.
doesn't want to help them She's gonna help like all the tribes on the planet. What
Mhm.
planet is that, by the way? I forget the name.
It's at least it's not mentioned in any of the media that I've experienced. None of the games, none of the expanded lore or behind the scenes stuff. It's called Madrigal.
Magical,
And
yeah.
and that was another scene that kind of hit a red flag for me is when Captain Keyes was explaining to Miranda that, hey, we're gonna off this girl in
It's very unlike
a
it.
conversation in a very small room with like 12 other people around. Like,
Yeah,
really? Is that how you're gonna go about it? You're not gonna bring her aside and be like, hey, this is what's going down. No.
yeah,
They're just fucking Chuck is over here just
for
dissecting the
real.
alien arm and just overhearing the conversation that we're just gonna kill a civilian. It's fine, no
Like,
big deal.
no, yeah, no, yeah, because like something like that, like if think about the U.S. government, if they were to make
Mhm.
a decision like that about somebody, it would be very hush hush, like shoved under the rug, like
Yeah,
nobody needs to know about this. This is bad publicity for us. But
right.
UNSC's like, yo, we're not afraid to get our hands dirty. This bitch needs to die.
Right.
Um, so, and then we cut to who do we see next? Halsey, Dr. Halsey,
Mhm.
right?
Yep.
And she's talking to
And this is where I forget the
who's the
whoever
lady?
that command lady. I don't remember. I don't think they said her name. Did they?
They might have, I just don't know. But
Hold on.
uh,
I'll pull up
the commander
IMDb.
later. Okay, that's what I was gonna do. Go ahead. But so Halsey's talking to the commander lady. The commander's lady's like, "Oh no, no! First, the chief lets Quan out of the you know cell, I guess you could say, the locked room on the Condor, and
Mhm.
then he's talking to her, um, and then fuck what? I'm trying to think of the order of events. He's talking to
So
her.
she was talking to Halsey about the events of what happened on that planet and was wondering why Chief went off orders just briefly. And they kind of dived into that whole hunt the truth era of Halo 5 where they were like, should we trust the Master Chief? Is he going to do what we tell him like a good soldier? Like that was the feeling that I was getting from that conversation. And then they briefly said as they were walking by that door, I thought this project was put on hold. And she goes, it was. Well, it doesn't look like it's been put on hold. And they just show this fucking, I'm assuming a clone of Halsey in a like birthing pod of some kind, just completely bald, no hair, and just wearing like a skin tight suit.
Cortana, man.
Yeah.
Cortana.
Well, that was my first thought. Like, was she trying to create a clone and then creates Cortana from that clone? I don't know where they're going with that, but I can see what they were trying to go for. The actress is not someone I've seen in anything before, but the character is Admiral Margaret Paronsky, Parangaski.
Okay.
Not
Um.
someone from Halo lore.
So basically, the chief is he's just like staring at this artifact the whole time he's on the Condor, more or less, right? Just thinking about
Mhm,
it, because like it showed him shit that he didn't like. Not only did it show him it, he felt it, right? Because he tells
mhm,
Halsey like, he's like, she asked what he saw, and he's like, oh, I saw family. He's like, but
mhm,
it was my family, and like he said it very confused, like, because he knows he doesn't have a family.
mhm,
Well, at least he doesn't have a family and stuff. And so Halsey, is panicking, like, oh fuck, he's gonna find out we've been stealing these children and
mhm,
cloning them and this whole fucking thing. Um, and so he finds out that the orders are to now kill Quan.
mhm,
Um, and instead of following through with the orders, uh, back at command for UNSC, they are realizing that he's not going to do what they're telling him to because they're watching him, right?
mhm.
They're
Yeah.
monitoring his every move, and they could tell he's not going to do it because he's just like sitting there talking to her.
Mhm,
And so what command does is they like lower the oxygen levels on the whole ship, including the chief's armor, and
mhm,
Quan and the chief both pass out. Well, Quan passes out, and the chief catches her and is trying to like help her, and then they turn off the oxygen on his suit so that he'll pass out just so that the ship can autopilot to land so that they
mhm.
can like
Like
keep them
hush,
both
hush,
captive.
everything. Yeah.
Yeah. But the chief being the chief just somehow wakes up.
Like, I don't need air. Are you kidding me?
Yeah,
I was floating in space for 6 months in Halo Infinite. Air means nothing to me. And
yeah,
then just turns the oxygen back on. He just finds
yeah,
the exact panel with the valve to the air and
yeah.
just turns it.
Yeah, turns it, airs back on. Quan and Chief are up. They're like, and then that one woman, the commander lady, is telling Halsey like, "I thought he was supposed to fucking listen to you, bro. Like, what's going on here?
Right.
Like, this is your baby here. Like,
Hmm.
like this isn't what they're supposed to do." Um, and basically, the Pelican or Condor still
Hmm.
ends up landing. Chief gives Quan a battle rifle after
Hmm.
she already threatened him to kill him with it because she didn't want to
Hmm.
die. And
And then the
the,
big
the the
reveal.
yeah, and then the way Chief proves that like she can trust him is he takes his helmet off. For the
Hmm.
first time in any piece of Halo like visual lore possible,
Hmm.
the Chief takes his helmet off. And I respect the hell out of this move, Will, because I
It's
no
a
think about
big
it.
dick move.
Think
Big
about it,
dick move.
Will. They ripped the band-aid off. Do you know how
Yeah.
much more mad you would have been as a huge Halo fan if they would have done this at the very end of the season? You would have been very pissed off.
Yeah, they did. They ripped the Band-Aid off early. It's not a move I would have done because they could have very well done a Mandalorian styled reveal and
Yeah.
making the reveal meaningful as opposed to him just like, "Hey, if you're gonna kill me, aim up here." Like, really?
Yeah.
Oh my god.
I did think it
But
was
no,
cool seeing
I
how
can
the
respect
helmet
them
came
for doing
off.
it. Yeah. True.
I thought
Yeah,
it was
because
cool.
it
Like
like
it's like
stuck around like his like you could tell like the gel layers were sticking to the skin and can
yeah,
act a as a suit in a vacuum. So I like
yeah.
the little detail like that was pleasing, very pleasing. Just
So yeah, we see the
not what we
chief
were expecting.
see the chief for the first time. The Condor lands. They're panicking. Oh shit! Oh shit! Chief tells her like, "Yo, shoot that thing over there,"
Hmm.
and it basically turns off the autopilot. And I missed the part where Halsey tells Silver Team, "Hey, no matter what these people are telling you to
Yes.
do, if anybody touches the chief,
Hmm.
you are to fuck them up, right? Like
Yeah.
we are our own thing. Fuck the UNSC right now.
Hmm.
We're going rogue if anything happens to the chief."
Right. They kept that feeling of these are my brothers in arms. We care more about each other than the orders that are given to us.
Yeah.
Like I can respect keeping that tone in with it because I mean blue team in the games is the exact same.
Yep. Exactly. So, and then Chief and Quan fly off, right? And
Hmm.
that's pretty. Isn't that where it ends?
Yep, that's well they yeah, that's where it ends and it was also the only part where you
Ooh.
actually hear the full Halo theme with the monks playing as that ship starts to raise up off the ground and Chief takes controls and flies away. Like I that was nice, but it was the only bit of music that actually came from existing media. So to me that was a little bit of a letdown. Like that was the only time we heard that. And then they, aside from if you want to count the opening part of the credits, the opening credits where they had their generic Netflix intro where the suit is just forming around them, they had the brief Halo tune sung by someone, not your typical Halo monks. Um,
Oh, we did. We
but
saw a prophet too.
oh yes,
We missed
that
that
scene
part.
was also a little like I feel like that scene could have been cut and it would not have changed the feel of that episode. But
No,
yes,
it was just kind of their
um,
way of saying like, "Hey, prophet's here too. He's gonna do something this season."
and not only just a prophet, but that was Mercy because
Yeah,
there was briefly in there they named him. Granted, they were speaking, I'm
and
sure, some kind of hybrid Japanese to fake alien language.
and he was talking to a human woman,
Hmm.
which is
So,
interesting.
so based off of the like press releases of the show prior to it coming out, they were explaining that this character who is what's the name? Hold on, Mackie. She is a member of the Covenant, but she was taken by the Covenant and adopted. They adopted her to see if she could convert humanity to be a part of their creed. At least that's what I was getting from all their like tellings, months back. But it's interesting to see a human and a prophet communicating like that,
Yeah,
because
it's very
that is not
strange.
something we've seen, and honestly probably would have been an interesting plot twist in one of the games at one point in time. But same thing. It was a ballsy move to take that step because it's not been done. And I'm gonna let it play out through obviously the rest of the series to see what her role is actually gonna play. Like, is she going to try to bring in Chief and Quan Ah to be a part of the Covenant, or is it going to be vice versa? Are they going to try to get her to see the light? Because it seemed like, or at least that brief conversation she had with Mercy, that she was reading a book from Earth. She was reading about something. They didn't really explain what, and I'm wondering if they're going to bring in her humanity as a part of her own character arc. Like, are they going to try to get her to be bad, but eventually at the end be kind of like the Kylo Ren of the series? He's going to start out bad and then realize, oops, this isn't right, and then curve back towards the good. So I don't know.
What
I'm curious to see how they're going to write it.
what if she's the bridge that makes the chief and the arbiter work together? Because the
Ooh.
arbiter is in this show.
Oh, they have said that?
Yeah, I'm
Or
pretty sure.
hold on.
I'm pretty positive.
Looking up, Truth and Regret have been cast in the series. Hold on.
Yeah, we also got to
I
look at the arbiter. Yep, he's in the trailer for the show.
Okay. I don't see a credit for Arbiter, or at least anybody voicing Arbiter, unless they changed his name to a generic alien name.
Possible.
Hmm.
But yeah, overall, like
Yeah.
that was the first episode. Um, I think we both said it surprised both of us at how much
Hmm.
better it actually was from what the trailers made it seem.
Hmm. I was
I'm excited to see
expecting
where the show
100%
goes.
cringe. Hmm.
I'm excited to see where the show goes. I kind of like the rogue like feature of the whole Spartan program right now. It seems
Hmm.
like they're gonna be their own thing. Um, yeah, I'm excited for episode 2 next week. So
It's going to be a very interesting roller coaster of emotions because both of us are big fans of the story, the original story. And I feel like this is going to bring in a lot of good, but also we're going to see some things that will just upset us to our core. Probably me more so than you. But
yeah,
um, how much time do we have left? Because there's a few other
like
things.
none,
None.
like
Okay,
none.
never
But no,
mind.
you
Well,
could talk about more if you want. That's
all
fine.
right. Well, I was going to talk about it as a piece of cinema, like as a composition, because both of us have pretty decent home theater systems at home. How did you feel with the visual fidelity and the audio of the entirety of it?
I thought the audio was fine. I didn't notice anything that stuck out. But like visually, like I said, there were weird things. Like the elites looked
Mhm,
like they were in a different setting than what they actually
mhm,
were in, because like they almost looked hologrammy in
mhm,
that like desert. What was it called? Madrigal.
mhm.
Um,
It
but
looked
I
like the compositing just wasn't quite matching up with the environment, like the CG character to the lighting around it, if that makes any sense. Um,
I thought
I
that
also,
world looked cool. That
yeah,
the Madrigal looked pretty cool.
it 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 brought in some of those interesting vibrant colors that you would see like in Halo 1, where it was bright oranges, greens and purples and things of that nature. But I feel like the filter that they used was a little cranked up too high. Like some of the colors kind of bled together, like it was almost too saturated. I could be over analyzing it, especially since I'm colorblind, but I felt like some of the colors just didn't quite feel right based off of what I've seen in other different media. Obviously, that's an art style choice by the director of that episode. He has a vision in his head that he wants to try to present on screen. I feel things that should have been glowing brighter were not bright enough. Like when Chief touches the Forerunner artifact and it starts to glow, there's not much ambient glow around them, like what you would see from something that starts emitting like neon lights, essentially. It seemed a little poorly rendered. I don't want to paint it in a bad light because there's a lot of good visual effects that went into those scenes in the beginning. There were a lot, especially with the amount of practical filming that they did. A lot of those explosions and the trucks flipping, like those were, from what I saw based off of comparisons to what is the CG element, were filmed real. Like they were flipping trucks, they were setting off pyrotechnics and things like that. And then to see like the Forerunner device start to glow and then just have just this faint glow reflection on his visor or the environment around it. I just felt like it took me out of the experience, like it entered into that uncanny valley just a little bit. And obviously with the elites, like you said, there's only so much that you can do to make an elite feel like it belongs in live action. Because
Yeah,
it
without it looking like a Power Rangers villain.
right. That's a good analogy, actually. But like, I do love that they captured the scale of the elites being 8 feet tall monsters.
Crazy. They're
I
huge.
was expecting to see more than just the elites and the one prophet. I'm surprised that they didn't start with a grunt, because they in any form of their media games and shows, they send the grunts in first, they get
Yeah.
destroyed, and then the elites come in and clean up everything else. So
Yeah,
I was
that is weird that the Covenant all they had were elites. They didn't have any
just
like
elites,
you
nothing
didn't see any
else.
grunts, like no
Hmm.
jackals, like nothing. It was just
Hmm.
elites, which is weird.
The
I think it would have been funny if Quan
mhm.
ran up that hill and just
And
like
then just came
stumbled
face
into
to
a
face with
grunt.
a
Yeah,
grunt, right?
yeah, that would have been good.
For me, sound design is incredibly important for bringing me into the experience. And there was a lot of good, but I felt like some of the audio mixing was not quite balanced very well. Like some of the dialogue and the background noise were just a little too on the same volume. Like shit happening in the background should take a back seat to what's happening in the foreground, at least as far as cinema is concerned. So I felt like some of it wasn't mixed quite right. I don't know who did the sound design for the show. I'll have to look up the credits on a lot of this stuff and do some more research for next time. But there were a lot of good. I do love some of the fan service that they put in, like the shield recharge effect, the swords coming out. Like those were straight ripped from the games, which was cool. I absolutely loved that. But I feel like they cherry picked. There were a few things that they chose to keep as far as the sound, and then like the elite was just mowing down the civilians in that room with the plasma rifle, it was just your generic laser gun sound and
Yeah,
nothing remotely close to any of the other stuff that they were just kind of pulling in from the games. So it was an interesting mix. Like the director's like, nah, that's not what a laser gun should sound like. Let's go ahead and pull from this catalog of laser sounds in our sci-fi department and use some of that stuff. But I don't know. I could be nitpicking because that's what I do. But overall, I think some of the like the music mixing in, the sound design on a good portion of it was decent. It was decent. Again, not $200 million budget decent, but decent. Um, what did you think of the costume design?
um, I think that the Spartans look badass. I thought they looked
Yes.
really good. Like they look, not only do they look huge, like I don't know, like their armor actually looks like armor, right? It doesn't look like
Yeah.
somebody's cosplaying as the Master Chief or as
Hmm.
anybody from Silver Team. Like it looks like legitimate, like don't fuck with them armor.
Mm. Yeah.
I thought that was
Like
really
it
good.
carried weight to it as well. Like you could tell it wasn't just cheap pieces of plastic.
Yeah. I also enjoyed when they were in the UNSC hangar, when they were showing scenes in there, just seeing all
Hmm.
of the equipment and like warthogs and shit.
Hmm.
Like the warthogs like speeding to drive to where, the chief's ship was landing. Like it
Hmm.
looked really good. Like I don't know, like a legit warthog would in real life if
Right.
you brought
I
one in
don't
real
know if
life.
that was the one that they built in real life because I felt like that one had a slight different dimension to it, but it was definitely one of the previous ones that they've used in live action promotions in the past. But
Yeah.
it looked good. Some of the set design, fantastic. The costumes, for the most part, some of the UNSC costume, like the background people in robes and lab equipment, things like that. I mean, like it just looked like generic sci-fi, sciency cloth, essentially. But the Spartans, 100% agree. They are the costume design for just that alone is just top notch. It did not. You're
That
right. It did
I was
not look like
worried.
cosplay.
I
Yeah.
was worried because I was worried it was just gonna look like a bunch of people cosplaying as Spartans, but that is not the case at all.
Right.
Like they look really good. They did a good
Yeah.
job.
Um, anything else that particularly stands out to you as a piece of cinema? Like something that took you by surprise, like, hey, that was cool. How did they film that? Or anything along those lines?
I mean, not really because it's all either like live action or CG, right? Like there's really
Right.
no in between.
Mhm.
Um, I don't know. I thought it was cool when Quan's dad got stabbed by the sword, like
Mhm.
because
And he
the
just
elite,
slowly just
yeah,
pushed it in a little further. Like that was I feel like that was well done. Even with the elite kind of feeling cartoony in some ways, but the sword, especially when the elite shoved it through the door and it was melting like the metal around where the sword was coming through. Like subtle details like that were top notch, I feel.
it was also kind of weird to me. Like, why did the Covenant feel the need to attack these people?
Hmm.
Right? Like the kids were all running from them. None of
It
them
was
had
very
guns.
unprovoked. Absolutely.
None of them had guns. The kids all just ran, and then the Covenant are like, "Fuck it, we're killing everybody here."
Like fuck these druggies getting high in the forest. We're just killing
Yeah,
everybody now.
yeah. It was a little strange, but
Yeah. There were definitely some things that just didn't fit and they just kind of I my assumption is just progressed it so that the story could happen, I guess.
yeah.
Um,
Well, I mean, with that, I think we're gonna end this
yeah.
review of episode 1, Contact from the Halo TV series. We're gonna do one of these every week for every episode that comes out. We went on way longer than I thought we would, which I mean
My
that's cool. I
apologies.
mean,
That's all
no
me.
worries. I'm down to talk about Halo as much as we want. But yeah, stay tuned right here to Pixel Street Videos for more reviews, podcasts, let's plays, and John's been doing a lot of list videos, so check those out. Also check out our countdown to Halo Infinite series that we never finished, but we will one day, I promise.
One
Because
day
I
when
want to
they
finish all the
finally
games.
announce a date of co-op. I
When they
feel like
announce the
that'll
date for
be
co-op,
our
yeah,
yeah.
build up to that, and then we'll play through co-op together. So
Yes.
um, yeah, we will see you right here next week for another. I think they come out every week. I don't see why they wouldn't.
I
Um,
would assume.
we'll be right back here next week for our review of episode 2 of the Halo TV series. Bye.